Much, Mohit. Good evening, friends. Once again, on behalf of Delhi Management Association and Work Junction, welcome to this high energy and power-packed webinar. Before we start, I just want to inform you that after the speakers have spoken, there will be time for question and answers. So as the talk proceeds, you can type your questions on the chat and we will take them up at the end of the talk. So the topic of the day, leadership lessons in unprecedented times. These are certainly unprecedented times. While we were ringing in the year 2020, did any of us realize what it was going to lead to? I have been inside my house for the last 2 months, but that's not just about the least of it. The whole world has stopped, all because of a microvirus. We haven't heard the worst of it. There is uncertainty, there is fear, there is nothing normal. The future looks grim and somewhat dark, and surely the impact will remain for a very long time. In such an environment, leadership plays a very important role. When you see a man in uniform, he somehow automatically inspires us as a leader. Well, we're very fortunate to have today with us as our keynote speaker, Dr. P Mshra, presently posted as Joint Commissioner of Police in Delhi. In his more than 32 years of service, he has distinguished himself on many platforms as an ace investigator, effective strategist, and tactful law and order handler. He has been awarded by the President of India with a Medal for Meritorious Services in 2012 and Medal for Distinguished Services in 2018. Besides that, he's received letters of commendation from the Home Minister and appreciation letters from the seniors at different stages of his service life. A multi-dimensional achiever, Dr. Mishra excelled in academics through his student years, receiving scholarships. He completed his master's in sociology from Jawaharlal Nehru University and then went on to do his MPhil and his PhD from there. He is an author of many books, presentations, publications, to his credit. His book, Policing Delhi, Urbanization, Crime and Law Enforcement, published by Oxford University Press, is a textbook which helps in understanding police challenges in a metropolitan city. His other work, Watch Out, is a handbook for safe living. It was found so useful that it has been translated into 4 languages. This can give you an insight into his vision and sensitivity. Dr. Mishra has written and spoken on relevant socially sensitive subjects like crime against women, suicide, dowry, rape, cyber warfare, and others. But this is not all. Early in his career, he made a documentary film on Neighborhood Watch. And during his stint in Chandigarh, he worked on path-breaking prison reforms. While we talk about a man's achievements, we must acknowledge the role of the woman behind him. His lovely wife, Aarti, has created a perfect home environment, enabling him to do his best, while also nurturing the academic and intellectual inclinations of both their sons. Now, let us hear from the man himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. P Mshra.
Thank you very much, Ms. Singh. Good evening to all the participants in this webinar. But for this unprecedented lockdown, we would have interacted in some auditorium or conference hall for this interaction. Ladies and gentlemen, This is the new narrative of communication and dialogue during unprecedented times. The evolution of mankind is full of examples of unprecedented events. The very survival of human civilization demonstrates that we have overcome the challenges during unprecedented times. The emergence of modern Indian state had seen unprecedented assault on its sovereignty and integrity by various rulers during different phases of history. We have been under colonial rule for almost 200 years. We fought those difficult times and emerged as a strong nation. The word unprecedented is defined as never been done before or known before. We are definitely in uncharted territory at the moment during this coronavirus pandemic. This pandemic has arisen without any warning or precedent and should be considered the best example for such a term. Many of us are saying this for the first time. This situation has posed serious challenges before leadership at micro and macro level. In unprecedented times, we need action that is unprecedented. And within this situation action matrix, the role of leadership assumes critical importance. Unprecedented situations require reflection of unusual leadership qualities. As a matter of fact, the litmus test of any leadership comes during unprecedented times. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." In our day-to-day life, we all lead in some capacity or the other. Only the scope, scale, nature, magnitude, and form changes. The first leadership lesson starts at family, where we are supposed to reflect our leadership qualities while performing various roles and responsibilities. The lesson of leadership gradually moves from more informal to formal frame as we grow and assume newer responsibilities. So theoretically, different situations could require inculcation of different attitudes and orientation as a leader. While talking about leadership, let me make it clear that a leader is supposed to reflect the right qualities during crisis situation. It is dynamic in nature. It has to tune and reorient itself with the changing times and requirement of the situation at hand. In that sense, leadership is not a position, but a lifestyle. The orientation of the leader and reflection of the desired qualities will vary with the nature of crisis. That is why we talk of situational leadership. Having set the theoretical backdrop, I would now like to identify certain leadership qualities which are crucial for handling unprecedented times. And the first such quality is proactive thinking. We are normally reactive in nature, more so in our response to crisis. For handling difficult situations, a leader has to be proactive at cognitive level. He has to visualize the consequences of the policies being enacted. He's supposed to initiate proactive measures which will help in overcoming unprecedented situations. In other words, the mitigation will be better with a proactive approach. A leader has to be innovative also. As I have said earlier, unprecedented situations would require unprecedented decisions to effectively handle it. The leader has to be innovative in finding responses and solutions to the crisis. He has to look beyond the normal solutions and think out of the box. Leading from the front, I consider to be the core quality of any leader. This assumes critical importance during unprecedented times. Nelson Mandela had said, "It is better to lead from behind and put others in front when you celebrate victory, when right things occur. But you take the front when there is danger. During difficult and unprecedented times, people need guidance, support, and help. They look upon their leaders with a lot of hope and aspirations. They expect their leader to come with proper solutions to the dangers and challenges which have emerged during difficult times. It could require critical policy decisions for survival. For example, during COVID-19, wearing of masks and maintaining social distancing is a critical factor in preventing the spread of virus. Ladies and gentlemen, man is a social animal. We are gregarious by nature. Maintaining social distance in human relationship is against the grain of human nature and culture. But the containment of the virus required social distancing and other effective measures. Hence, effective steps and measures, including lockdown, came into existence. This could not have been possible without the initiative of the leadership from micro to macro level. Empathy is another very important quality which the leader should have. A leader has to reflect empathy during unprecedented times in policy formulations and other proposed actions. He has to visualize the impact and implications of the measures being adopted for mitigating and diffusing the situation. And I think the best guiding principle under such situations for any leader should be Gandhi's talisman. And I quote, "Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man, women, whom you may have seen, and ask yourself if the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to him, her. Will he, she gain anything by it? Will it restore him, her, to a control over his, her own life and destiny? In other words, will it lead to Swaraj, freedom for the hungry and spiritually starving millions? Then you will find your doubts and yourself melt away." Positive attitude also plays a very critical role during difficult situations. It is quite normal for human beings to be negative during unprecedented situations. Such situations bring out the worst in people. Therefore, it is important to have a leader who believes in hope and positivity. Positive leadership empowers people to be a part of the mitigating partnership in overcoming the distress. Compassion is another very important quality. Unprecedented times call for unprecedented compassion. Leading with compassion means also the courage to quickly and succinctly communicate good and bad news, and the latter needs to be communicated with the right amount of optimism. We see leaders every day do this. Communication plays a very important role during difficult conditions. Unprecedented times come with new challenges and uncertainties. It generates anxiety, fear, and depression. Proper communication with all the stakeholders during difficult times by the leader helps the members in overcoming tough situations. Let us not forget that a lot of misinformation also gets generated during these times. Clarification and dissemination of right facts increases the level of trust and confidence in all the stakeholders. This is possible only when there is continuous communication by the leader at all levels. All great leaders have been great communicators. During difficult times, employees are looking for the leaders to set the tone. They need to know the leaders have their support. They need to feel inspired, reassured, and motivated to navigate the storm. They need to trust that their leaders are beside them every step of the way. Now, after talking about leadership in general, I would like to leave the audience with my own experience from being in a leadership position in a service delivery institution like Delhi Police. In my more than 30 years of service, we never came across such a situation before. However, these 30 years of experience have provided me the tools and acumen to deal with the contingencies that the pandemic has posed. I am sure we all visibly see the local police on the ground involved in dealing with the public, trying to keep them safe and sound through their law and order management skills. But being in the top brass of police leadership, we have had to worry about how we keep our men on the ground safe, sound, protected, and their morale high and their spirits positive. We have had to show the hallmarks of all these qualities which I have talked about in this lecture. The pandemic not just poses a health pandemic, but also poses an organizational challenge for all formal organizations. We have had to sensitize our men into understanding the complexities of this virus, the way it is spread, and the ways in which the spread can be contained. Turning our men to achieve the desired goals of policing with a human face and at the same time keeping themselves safe has been a major challenge for leadership at all levels. I think we should all be extremely grateful for the unflinching conviction that our men on the ground have shown to serve and protect the people, not just from crime, but also from a deadly pandemic like coronavirus. The Indian police under this pandemic have redefined itself as an institution. It has shown institutional resilience in changing and adapting to the unprecedented situation at hand. I'm extremely proud of our man on the ground, and I hope people on this webinar can come to recognize the role that they are playing and appreciate and continue to abide by the directions. This pandemic has also been personally a very rewarding experience for me, as it has given me an opportunity to give back to the community in these difficult times in such a direct way. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to end by identifying 4 E's which should be followed by any leader during unprecedented times in any democratic society. And the first E is engage. We have to engage all the stakeholders during any difficult situation. After we have engaged the stakeholders, then the next E is explain. We have to explain the whole narrative of the difficult situations. Difficult situations require reversal of roles and responsibilities. We have to explain the members of the civil society about their role in diffusing the situation. For example, in COVID-19, wearing of mask and maintaining social distancing is very critical in preventing the spread of the virus. Once we have meaningfully engaged them, we can explain about their role in the whole crisis. The rationale behind various actions proposed has to be explained. After we have engaged and we have explained, then the role comes of encouragement, and that is the third E. Once we have engaged and explained the whole matrix of the difficult situation and roles to be played by various stakeholders, we have to encourage them to follow the protocol or the decisions on the ground. And finally, once we have done all this, then comes the role of enforcement, and that is the fourth E. After we have meaningfully engaged stakeholders, explained them, and encouraged them to follow rules or guidelines, we have to ensure that it is actually followed on the ground by the members. That means we have to enforce them. Enforcement could be self or collective. If the stakeholders fail to observe the rules or the norms willingly, the role of state comes in enforcing them through punitive measures. For example, when people did not follow the norm of wearing masks voluntarily during COVID-19, it was made compulsory with punitive provisions. So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to reimagine leadership in these unprecedented times. This could require paradigm shift in the conventional and traditional leadership style. During difficult times, we need to be able to entrust people with the responsibility of making their own informed decisions in turn projecting a role onto them that they can rise up to. This narrative of leadership transcends the traditional stereotypes leadership style, which envisions privileged upper-class man at the center. It opens up space for women, disabled, underprivileged, and people at the periphery also to assume leadership roles. Everyone can and should be a leader in unprecedented times. This too shall pass away. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mishra. That was a very precise and incisive discourse. Actually, I suggest you put it together and make it like a little book on, very easy to sort of access leadership tips. That was indeed very, very educative and informative.
Thank you very much.
We have a question here from Mr. Rakesh Seth. Mr. Seth, actually, I think Dr. Mishra has really answered it, but all the same, I'll read it out and let him answer. How should a leader handle a new situation or a problem which he or she has never experienced?
Mr. Seth, the first thing is that to handle any situation, we have to mentally prepare ourselves. You see, nothing happens as per our expectations. There are many things in our day-to-day life also which happens, which we come across, we which may not have imagined it. To handle any such situation is to mentally prepare ourselves. I think if we are able to, then the shock will be less. Then we will be able to empower ourselves with some qualities through which we will be able to overcome the situation. So I think mental preparation, that is where the role of leader also comes, when he is able to generate positive energy to the people that, okay, we are going to overcome this.
Ladies and gentlemen, please type out your questions on the chat. I don't see any other questions here at the moment. I just would like to, while people are going to type in their questions, I just want to once again recap the main points that Dr. Mishra has spoken of, because I think they are so relevant rather, not only for unprecedented times, but people like us who are mostly involved in CSR, in people-oriented work, in service, in the service industry, even in the productive industry. These are points which really we must take into consideration, because you're a leader at every step. And let me just quickly list them out for everybody to recap. Proactive thinking. I mean, a leader has to be a visionary. He has to think ahead. Then there is the novel situation. So where the solution, you have to think out of the box. You have to think of something new, because it has to, like he said, the COVID had never happened before. So you had to think of a solution to match it. And therefore, think of that, look at new solutions, think and look ahead. Leading from the front. Always, if you are going to motivate your team, if you are going to encourage them, particularly in the services, Dr. Mishra has done that, your men have to have your trust. And if they see you leading, they will always follow. So this is something all of us should remember. You see, if I sit in just my office and not go out to the health camps, not ever be anywhere in the village communities, I don't think it's going to work. We've just got to be there. We've got to make a physical presence. Well, we have Durgesh Garg saying, how can you keep the morale of your employees high during these times, considering most of them are working from home? Okay. Dr. Mishra, would you like to take that?
I think, Steve, this is a new narrative of the professional life which has come. And again here, a leader has to have trust in his organizations that if working from home also becomes a norm, then this system has to, and I think people have gradually got used to this. There are many private organizations, private sectors, even in the government offices also up to some level, the work used to take place from the home only. Because if we are passing through a difficult situation, every difficult situation has a total narrative. It has, how are we going to get rid of that situation? There is a protocol for that. And if we have to follow that protocol, then these are things which will come into place. Now, motivating them, we have to be constantly in touch with them, even if they're working from home. We should find out if they're fine, if there's any problem. Normally, things which you do when they are physically present in your office, that same protocol or that same thing should be followed if your employees are working from home.
Right.
That will actually motivate them. That will motivate them to work. They will know that even if I'm not physically present in the office, my boss or my leader he still cares for me. So I think that will be very important.
There's a question from Jacqueline. She says that now that there will be lockdown, will the Delhi police exhibit similar qualities?
I think this is, Jacqueline has a very important point, and we have already, this is a point which has gone very well with the police, and we would like this to be our, in fact, maintained beyond COVID-19 also, no doubt. I think the kind of trust and confidence which police across country, and particularly Delhi police, which has earned so much of trust and confidence from the people, I think we will be able to maintain this in the police.
So Ashok Kumar Balian says, what support did you get from the decision makers to keep the police force motivated to work on the ground?
I think our the supreme of the force, the Commissioner of Police Delhi, is very concerned about each and every person who's deployed on the road. He regularly interacts with them. He regularly interacts. He's conscious about their health conditions. He cares about that, and there are a lot of institutional mechanism in place to ensure that those who are working tirelessly, exposing themselves to the fear and the hazards of the COVID-19 also, there is institutional support from them from all levels of leadership. I think that's a continuous dialogue and communication which happens.
Thank you. Brij Gupta says two things. Firstly, he says, we saw a new avatar of Delhi police. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And secondly, he says, how do you engage people working from home and make them agree to cost cutting?
I think again, this is once this COVID-19 situation has actually generated a lot of food for thought also at various places. And I think there are many more things which is happening now. I'm sure that that is going to be a norm post-COVID-19. In professional life, many good practices which has taken place here is going to continue, I'm sure. So this has been a test also. And all these inputs and ideas, those which we are talking out of box or things which have never happened, again, have been tested also. Because in police also, and I think in many organizations, these kind of innovations have taken place, and they get a fairly good time also to understand their efficiency and efficacy in day-to-day working also. And some of them, and I'm very sure that they will continue to be, they will be a part of the normal professional life post-COVID-19.
I don't see another question, though there are a lot of remarks. There's a lot of praise saying, thank you, Dr. Mishra. Your messages are simple yet profound. Thank you for keeping Delhi safe during these times. So if there are any questions, please do write them now. In the meantime, I would like to go on with that list because I think it's so important. We were talking about leading from the front. That means by example, whether we are parents for our children, whether we are teachers for our students, whether we are the police, whether we are managers, whether we are the MD, whether we are anything. Very important, empathy. If you think as the other man is thinking, half your battle is won. And that is what we were talking about, these thefts also. Show empathy, friends, to your fellow human beings. Okay, in the middle, I get another one, says, salute you and your team, sir. Thanks a lot. So I thought I must tell
my
you
deep
that.
gratitude to all the participants who are saying very kind words about it. I'm thankful to them.
On that note, Dr. Mishra, although, okay, there's one comment. I think the initial training module contents will undergo change from the police. So as you said, it's ongoing. Right. So thank you very much there. I think we don't have too many questions. We have a lot of gratitude, a lot of praise. So thank you very much, Dr. Mishra, for this. And I now take the opportunity to introduce our second luminary, Ms. Shefali Chopra. She's a beautiful human being inside and out, a lady with a multitude of talents, certainly a people's person. She is a storyteller par excellence. Shefali, please tell us yourself about your kisse or kahaniyan.
Kisse kahaniyan. First of all, good evening, everybody. I'm so happy to be a part of this forum. I'm completely loving it. But I must tell you, I come from a little different dimension as a storyteller. मेरा कहना ये है कि हम सबके पास किस्से कहानियां होती हैं. कोई ऐसा नहीं जिसके पास नहीं होता. मगर हाँ, कईयों के पास हिम्मत नहीं होती और कईयों के पास ऑडियंस नहीं. I have both. I'm so lucky to have both. You know, we all are actually storytellers of our own lives. And what is beautiful is we also have the ability to change it. We are the writers, the directors, the actors, the editors of our own story. Nobody tells us this is your story. You have the time and the ability to change it anytime that you want to. Today, when we were having this beautiful discussion, I realized that how beautifully the police force changed their whole attitude, you know, towards the public, and how public changed their attitude towards the police. This was a new dimension that came up. So it's a new story. It's a beautiful story. At the end of the day, we always have to remember, keep our story beautiful, pretty, prim, the way we like it. Because there is nobody who you can give the right to that you have to write my story. As a storyteller, we give this beautiful thing for people to imagine. We teach people how to hope against hope. And most importantly, a lot of times our own stories become like a manual for somebody else. Even in the business format, when you really explain something to somebody, if you attach a little story to it, it is always well understood. Because the other persons also, they relate to it like that कि अगर ये कर सकते हैं तो हम भी कर सकते हैं. इनके साथ ऐसा हुआ तो हमारे साथ भी ऐसा हो सकता है. So it leads to a lot of positivity, if you ask me. And these stories kind of move from one
generation. Interrupting you, but tell us where some of the places where you have told these stories.
Well, initially, I must tell you that I have been to a lot of villages in Uttarakhand where I did my stories. I went to these beautiful schools in the villages where a lot of children come from that kind of background. And I was really privileged to do a lot of stories for them and for the community. Then I went to close to Ponta Sahib. There I also encouraged people with a lot of my stories. Women empowerment through my stories. Explaining to the community as basically how we can function as a better community. Other than that, there have been in the recent times, I was on the webinars with different schools.
Thank you. Shefali is also known to be a very well reputed motivational speaker. She has created positivity for a lot of people, but here I want to mention two platforms particularly. The first being for students and their parents. And the second, she has worked a lot extensively on empowering women. So Shefali, tell us something about these initiatives.
See, a lot of times we don't realize how a little talk, so-called bati chiti or chit-chat, can change somebody's life. And I think because my mantra is actually connect over control. When I connect with somebody, even if it is for 2 minutes, I connect with like 200% of connectivity is what I want to give you. I want to hear your story. Unfortunately, these days, people are so carried away by this thing, like, like a buzz of doing things, that they don't really have time to talk to you or listen to you. So in that frame of mind, I have managed to actually sit with people and hear their stories and also give my side of the story. I would always tell people, see, it's like when you have a cup, and if it's empty, you cannot really pour it in, you cannot pour anything in the other cup, right? But if your cup, if you've got little water in it, you can always share. So whatever you are is what you are going to share with others. Even as employees, if you're a happy boss, you are going to make your co-workers and workers happy. And that's a fact. If you have negativity within you, you cannot give them positivity. So the whole structure is that spending time with people, in fact, at a big level, I've also spent a lot of time with elderly lot, hearing their stories, because unfortunately their children or siblings are busy with their own lives, and people don't really have time to sit with them and hear their stories. And I tell you, they have abundant of things to tell you. And sometimes it can really open your minds. And I actually tell people, this is a good time, pandemic time. Okay, fine, we're all at home. There is a lockdown situation. But yes, there is no lockdown for communication. There is no lockdown for stories. There is no lockdown for smiles. No lockdown for caring and connecting and, basic things like praying, smiles. We can all do that. This is free and it's available. This is a good time to connect with your own roots, if you ask me. But of course, we have to be little, you have to be conscious about these things to be able to do these things. And I think this is a good time. There's a big time paradigm shift in people's thinking. They're actually going to think back into roots and think like, oh yes, maybe this is the way I want a new world to emerge.
And what about women empowerment? What about something specific for women empowerment?
See, I personally feel women, unfortunately, we're not looking at the metros, all right? We are talking about villages. Here, people are still considered as, I'm sorry to say, but kind of second-graded citizens. But when these women, if they are given an opportunity, it's not just that they change their own life, they change the life of the village. As a community, they make a change. They make a change for their children, because suddenly there's a growth, there's a shift in their thinking, and it just changes everything around them. And that is beautifully. And I have seen that with my own eyes, how one woman can actually make a difference to the village with good amount of education or experience, basic things like you would do, like teaching them how to knit and stuff like that. They have transformed lives around them. They really have.
Right, that's nice. So Shefali, I believe you're also theater exponent. I believe you've actually written plays and directed more than 13 plays. That's very interesting. Tell us something about that.
Actually, I've done more than 13 plays.
Okay.
The thing is, I have been in this field for more than 13 years. Yes, you're right. I have written lots of plays. I was very passionate about it. I must tell you a little episode here. Because I'm a storyteller, I have to have some story. So I remember I went to this particular school about 13 years ago, and a friend of mine said, hey, listen, why don't you apply? In the school, they have a little place for a principal. So I landed up there, and they looked at me and they said, you are too young. I said, oh, and I had this little track in my mind, only old people get to be the principals. Why not young people? Anyhow, I had a good laugh with the woman there, and it was very interesting that after some time, somebody approached them for theater. Like some lady said, ma'am, please can you come and help? We have some issues with the play. Kids are making mistakes. So she just, apparently she asked me, she says, do you think you can help us with theater? I said, yes, why not? So I shared this story to tell you that please do not constrain your minds thinking that, okay, this is all I can do. I had gone there for something else, but I ended up doing something else completely different. And then I just became a success story, because what happened was my play actually got me a lot of accolades. And it it was my luck that the play was based from Middle East. It was called Ali Coglia. And because I grew up in the Middle East, I studied there, my education, everything was in Dubai and Muscat. So I included all that from that time and era. So it suddenly transformed. So you never know where life just kind of changes you. And that was the beginning for me. I did productions like Buddha. It was based on Buddha. It was called Satya. I did Ganga. It was carried to the Kamani Auditorium in Delhi. I did many, many, many more plays. And I realized that what theater can do to you is something magical, because it just opens a person up. When children would come to me, they were like so raw. They were scared to speak. They didn't know what to say. They didn't have that kind of confidence. But, you know, when I would see them after maybe a month of training, and I would see, oh my God, there's this beautiful transformation in them. It really was.
Nice. That's very nice. That's very nice, Shefali. Now, there is also a very moving and touching aspect of our Sunshine Girl. And that is that she has been a organ donor. Now, when I heard about this, I really was very touched. And Shefali, I would request you to please share this with all our friends today.
Yes. Yes, it's a very beautiful part of my journey, of my life. In 2010, my mother was diagnosed with hepatic failure. So, which is, she needed, doctors had given hope. We knew she was sinking. She was slipping into, and that was the time when both of us, me and my brother, we were, you know, we got into this like, okay, fine, we will give the liver. And I think it was very emotional for all of us, the time period. Me and my brother fought till the end. Like, I will do the needful, and he said he would like to. Well, I was lucky that my parameters were, you know, like better compared with my mom than my brothers. I was selected. I can't tell you what it felt at that time, but that still come back to me. I was scared. I was definitely scared, but I had to be brave, and I had to show everybody like it doesn't matter. And I behaved so, and till the end, I never let anybody feel that exactly what was really going inside me. It wasn't easy. I mean, finally on 13th of Jan, on the day of Lori, me and my mom were taken to the operation theater. It was a long drawn operation. I didn't realize that, you know, this is something, it was life transforming for me, if you really ask me. I mean, I came out like a brave girl, 187 stitches and feeling, wow, oh my God. But I realized it much later that I actually saved a life, that too of my own mom. And I mean, it was a crazy feeling, really. I can't even explain it to you today. Like, I did so much, but at that point of time, I didn't realize what I had done. And today, when I see my mom happy, laughing, smiling, traveling the world, and today's 2020, so these 10 years of her being with all of us, it is a fabulous feeling. And I keep telling people that, you know, God forbid, if there is a chance where you have to sacrifice a part of your body and it's somebody else's life, please do that. It's something, it's like, you know, like, मैं अपनी माँ की बेटी हूँ मगर मैं माँ बन गई. Now I am the mother of my own mom. So I keep telling her, I said, now you are my jigar ka tukda. Actually.
Right.
So
thank you so much for that, Shefali. I mean, sharing your liver for a liver transplant is big. It's only very recent that we've all got used to hearing about liver transplants, and I think that really was very brave. I'm sure everybody agrees with me. I think your experiences are going to be very motivating for all of us, because what you have done, I mean, I feel, is you have given of yourself. You reached out, you went to the children in the villages, you motivated them, you encouraged them, you empowered the women to, to take care of their own needs as much as their families so that they could serve them better. You have given of yourself in theater, because that's a wonderful form of communication as well as expression, as you said. And more than anything, you have been an organ donor. I think this is totally amazing, and we are all of us very motivated with your experience. Now, let me see if there are any questions. Okay, Mr. Rakesh Seth is saying whether storytelling is an art or science. How can you become a good storyteller?
First of all, thank you for the question. I love the question, and I'm glad that a storyteller also gets to answer some of your questions. That's brilliant. See, being a good storyteller, first and foremost thing is you should believe in the story. You have to believe in the story. One. Second, you have to make that beautiful connect. You cannot just give a story just randomly. That connect has to be so strong that when I say a story, it reaches everybody, because it's like my story. And even when I do stories for other people, I make sure I'm convinced about the story. So only when you are convinced about a thing can you convey it with that same passion and vigor. So for being a good storyteller, that's the first step. And of course, then you have to be good with the way you speak. You have to be good with the connection. You have to be in the same shoes exactly and make them feel
right. Yeah.
This is
all
real.
Right. So I think that would probably, I hope you are happy with the answer, because really it's giving of yourself. And if you are genuine and sincere, it becomes a story. So there are a few remarks of praise from Major Muhammad Ali Shah. Respect, Shefali. Shefali ji. MK Sethi says, hats off, Shefali. And Dr. Seema Girdhar says, well done, Shefali, keep it up. And now I would just like to ask Dr. Mishra, on behalf of all of us, there's almost time just before we wind up, because we have the privilege of having him here with us. And, the police actually form a very integral part of our daily efforts as well, daily life. And, it's very easy for us to sit and, keep saying, oh, the police, this and that, and all the rest of it. But, which is, without knowing the details. And now, having seen them during the pandemic, I think there is a certain amount of empathy. There is. Although I have to admit, though it may not be Delhi police, it's probably the police of the other states, where we have seen a lot of lathi also. So I am just wondering, how much training does the constable on the road get? Because you have the IPS officers who know it all, and it filters down. But why do these kind of things happen, which shatters our vision of all the good work that is being done? You do so much good work, और वो एक लाठी उठा के मारने लग जाते हैं, या सब्जी का ठेला उल्टा कर देते हैं, and then all of us start feeling, oh my God, the police. So do you have any thoughts or any solution to this, or what do you think?
See, such instances, they are definitely a concern for the police leadership. They do dent the overall image, and a lot of corrective measures are also taken to sensitize the ground formations that under whatever provocation might come. As a law enforcer, we are not supposed to actually lose our temper, lose our cool. And such kind of sensitization does take place through our training modules. But let me also tell you that there are, without passing any remarks, you have very difficult situations. You have that is where I would say the role of the civil society also becomes very important. And under difficult situations, it is police is actually treading a very, very, in fact, cautious way. And for example, containing migrants in the whole city, you see how difficult it has been. They have their own concern, and engaging, I mean, keeping them engaged till they do not get a plan of their travel. Delhi police officers have done an excellent job by keeping them in shelter homes, engaging for their entertainment. Food also, we have had many community kitchens in police stations where only food was served to the migrant laborers. And but as you rightly said, of course, behind all this, but people normally do not remember what the good things are actually being done by the police. That comes into the, I mean, a totally different human face has come to light, I think globally, I would say, not why, but in India, definitely you say. But one or two such stray incidents, they need to be looked into. They should not actually prejudice the mind of the civil society towards the overall image of any organization. I think that is what I can say. You have,
we understand, and I think all of us appreciate that. All of us appreciate that. And of course, the NGOs did a great job also. I think we all appreciate that. It's just a question of training at the lower level.
Yes, let me tell you, I mean, since we are discussing about this, I mean, since lockdown, since there were no commercial taxis, no commercial vehicles movement, everything was stopped for last 2 months. And the police control room vans, which is the lifeline for Delhi, which you see on all the roads, they facilitated the safe delivery of 843 ladies who called these vehicles under distress. I mean, a child was born inside a police van.
Okay.
You know,
that's wonderful.
Yes, more than 1 crore food packets have been distributed in collaboration with various civil society organizations across city by the Delhi police.
So I think that's wonderful. And I think this, like you said in the beginning, this pandemic has taught all of us more lessons. And I think every individual is going to go home or come out of this with a little more empathy for the other man, no matter where and how, whether it's the common man, the migrant, the police. And I think it is in this manner that we need to come together. We need to come together as human beings, as Indians. First, second, third, fourth, last. That's all we are. We're all Indians. We're all together because we're all brothers and sisters. And I think that all of the people, and particularly people like police, the COVID warriors, the nurses, the doctors, have really been at the forefront of all this. And they have earned a lot of respect. And not only that, I think they would have learned to respect human life much more, having seen what has happened in these 2 months. So I think we should end on a very optimistic note. Unprecedented times, yes. As you say, it had never happened before. So all of us have gone through, but let us all emerge the stronger, the better, the more compassionate, the more empathetic, the more reaching out. We each has a story. Let us take off our masks. Let's stop pretending. हम लोग सब एक ही हैं और सभी एक ही किस्म के पेन जानते हैं, एक ही किस्म की मुश्किलें जानते हैं, हम जहाँ भी हों. So I think we should now try, each one of us are in the CSR, many are in social activism. Please propound this. एक दूसरे को उसी तरह देखें जैसे हम अपने आप को देखते हैं, अपने परिवार वालों को देखते हैं, क्योंकि वाकई हम लोग सब एक ही परिवार हैं. एंड उसी सोच से मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ डॉक्टर मिश्रा. एन एब्सोल्यूट प्लेजर टू मीट यू एंड लॉट ऑफ रिगार्ड्स, लॉट ऑफ रिस्पेक्ट, ऑल द वेरी बेस्ट in the forthcoming initiatives. I'm going to take a little detour and just mention, when I was CEO of Max India Foundation, we worked very closely with the Delhi police in spreading awareness about the harms of tobacco. So, you know, we put up a lot of posters, and there was a lot of training done for the policemen, and we had a very close and a good association and a very humane association. In fact, the first time we spoke, I had this whole room, the auditorium full, because we obviously couldn't access the police personnel. So whenever they had a training, we would request them for an hour after that. And the first time I spoke, one of the men stood up and said, "Ma'am, agar itna hi bura hai, to ye ban kyun nahi hota?" So they also felt from inside, and we worked very, very well together. Anyway, that was an aside. So thank you again. And dear Shefali, thank you very much for your motivating thoughts. I'm sure it will help all of us to reach out to others, to connect, and to become people's people. Thank you, both of you, on behalf of DMA and Work Junction. Now over to Mohit. Are you going to give the closing?
एक चीज मैं कहना चाहूंगा, आपने बहुत important बातें while concluding you said, as a member and a responsible member of civil society, हम कभी भी किसी घटना को जब देखते हैं तो उसका एक व्यापक परिप्रेक्ष्य होता है. Normally, whenever we look at an incident, we must look it in a broader context. And when you try to analyze it, you must analyze it in a very meaningful way. Okay.
So I invite Mr. Rajan Pandey to give the concluding remarks.
An honor for me to thank Galaxy of eminent speakers. Our sincere thanks to Dr. P Mshra for sparing his valued time and throw valuable insights on leadership. He very well said how in the challenging situation, leaders plays an important role to improve the lives of others. Once again, thanks to Dr. Mishra, and salute to Delhi Police, doctors and other professionals for keeping Delhi safe and doing an excellent job. Our sincere thanks to Ms. Daljit Singh for moderating the session and sharing the valuable inputs. Again, once again, thanks to Shefali Chopra for sharing her experiences and plays and share how women professionals and women entrepreneurs plays an important role and transform the lives of others. Last but not the least, thanks to you for arranging such illustrious speakers and the participants for their valuable inputs. Thanks once again.
Right. Thank you.
So thank you very much. With this, we close the session on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.